Hello there. Welcome to my little den. Would you like to take a seat? Please do, and I can tell you all about the time when some devious little rat men managed to call the space elves from an entirely different universe. For the non-Warhammer fans watching this video, I suppose you're not really going to get what's going on, but stay tuned anyway, please. Now, the Skaven, aka the rat men in Warhammer Fantasy, are known for many things, due to the fact they breed like, well, rats. They're known for having a vast and diverse population, filling all sorts of niches from edgy assassins that use their tails to wield an extra knife, to cloth-covered weirdos obsessed with disease, and insane mechanics that can make Gatling guns work in a fantasy setting. Whatever job you need doing, a Skaven can do it. Something else the Ratmen are known for is their ability to pull off some reality-defying feats, such as pulling a moon out of orbit in the end times, and contacting a species that exists in a different setting, aka Warhammer 40k. So the meat of the story goes like this. During the sacking of a city owned by the Lizardmen, some warlock engineers stumble upon a strange device. The Lizardmen cities are full of what is effectively sci-fi tech, left over by the old ones anyway, but because the Lizardmen aren't fully aware of what most of it does, and really just assume that everything isn't part of the Great Plan, they rarely know how to use it properly. Poking and prodding, the rats hear a voice through the device, one they don't recognise but associate heavily with the stinky elf things that they've run into before. As any species does when it encounters something that it doesn't understand, the Skaven shoot the hell out of the device until it stops making those strange noises. Now, this story doesn't have founding in an official army book or anything like that, and it actually spawned from a Thanquol book, Thanquol being the villain often associated with the Gotrek and Felix novels. It only has a short passage dedicated to it, but it's still vastly interesting, and the passage reads as follows. The warlock engineers soon discovered the device of the Great Beyond, a communication apparatus that spoke to things from beyond the stars. As they swirled its many dials, a querulous voice spoke through the stone speakers. That voice, fair and clear, caused the Skaven to bolt away. The device was something like the Far Squeaker, but the melodious tones that issued forth were, if anything, akin to the despised speech of the elf things. As they did not understand the alien language, nor how the arcane contraption worked, the warlock engineers pulled the device apart and shot it with warplock pistols until it stopped making any sounds. Now, there are multiple interesting details in this story. First, the device of the Great Beyond itself, which appears to be a way that the Lizardmen can communicate with spacefaring civilizations. Perhaps this could have been connected to how they escaped the old world in the end times, if the end times had bothered to have put any effort in at all. As well as this interesting device, there's the obvious species that the Skaven accidentally butt dial. While the Eldar are the most obvious answer to who they called, there are other possibilities, leading this little moment to be both hilarious and a great piece of speculative Warhammer lore. For some, this heralded the beginning of a crossover between Warhammer 40k and fantasy. However, a few years after this book was released, fantasy literally exploded and GW decided that the settings would remain vastly separate. This marks one of an extremely few instances of Warhammer 40k and fantasy showing any signs of existing in the same universe, even with so many similarities like Chaos Gods, a God Emperor, and Greenskins. A keen-eared listener may have noticed that the text in the voice on the other end of the device is not specifically referred to as belonging to the Eldar. Some believe this to mean that another species was on the receiving end of the Skaven's butt dial, such as the Old Ones themselves. However, it must be remembered that the Skaven had no idea what the Eldar were, meaning that in a book from their perspective, we'll never hear a rat lad called the Eldari by their true names. From their association with the elf thing, though it can be safely assumed that the voices are that of Eldar and not anything else, as nothing but space elves would talk like regular elves. I'm guessing. A shame we'll never see a full spin-off series of the constant FaceTimes between the two species, and though fans could make that, we all know what happened to fan animations. Apart from the actual event of the call, I don't really have much to dig into from this moment, so, as anticlimactically as the end times, this video will also end. This was one of the few times in which we see the now destroyed setting of Warhammer Fantasy meet 40k. I don't think anything was ever going to come of this, but it is a nice little Easter egg that you may have missed, and for those reading the Thanquol books, perhaps more interesting than the moment between the Skaven and the Eldar is the concept that the Lizardmen could have been in contact with the 40k races this whole time? This would then mean that the old ones of the Warhammer Fantasy universe may not have been the old ones of 40k universe at all, and all this time the Lizards have been worshipping space elves. Again, all these little details will never be confirmed by GW, Games Workshop, or even elaborated on, but what is Warhammer lore without wild speculation? Know of any other wacky Warhammer moments? Do let me know and I'll see what I can do. Until then, all the best, and remember, if you get a call from an unknown number, the best course of action is to shoot your phone until it dies.